So you guys should try to hook up with Brittney and go check out Resurgence. But here's Brittney.
Thank you. So I'm Brittney Germany. I am with Resurgence, and I'm also a committee member of the Spiritual Care Network. So what I do is I help organize monthly events, in-person network meetings. And we are pretty booked up until November. So we do have 2 openings, November and December, if anybody wants to host an in-person networking meeting in the Houston area. And what we do is we all get together and we all just talk about and collab how we can help individuals, try to get on the right path in life through spirituality and faith, and then also through mental health and addiction. So I'm with Resurgence. What we do is we're a dual diagnosis facility. We have one in Wimberley, one in Tennessee that we just opened up, and we have a couple of facilities in California. We do have a lot of different treatment modalities that we offer, and a lot of our facilities look a lot different than just like we have different facilities that offer different things. So we have a facility in California that is all female that specializes in eating disorders, substance use, and mental health. And then there's also an all male facility as well. And then we have a mental health primary facility as well. And that's in California. Our Wimberley facility is beautiful. We are doing in-person tours monthly. So if you do want to come see it, let me know. You can get with myself or my counterpart, Micah Petty, up in Dallas, and we can get you out there to see it. But with that, I'm going to give you Michele. She is our other counterpart in Mississippi. I think Mississippi, yes. And she's also an LCPC. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for today because this is just a topic that's like near and dear to my heart. I'll give you just a tiny bit of background about me while we're giving everybody just another maybe 2 minutes, and I'm gonna get started. I am gonna date myself. I got my master's in 2002. I worked for the first couple of years in community college and mental health. So I have a heart and a passion for community college. I ended up teaching for 6 years full time in Oregon. That's where I'm from, in Portland. And then I moved to Mississippi and went back to private practice. And in that time, I also got sober. I'm almost 12 years sober. And so it was just a huge like unveiling in my life. And I know people say all the time, you pull the layers off the onion, you unpeel the onion. Well, that was me for a bunch of years. And so anyway, so my background is clinical. I'm an LPC. And then also like 5 years ago, I finished my PhD in psychology, which was a big deal. Started and stopped it twice, and promised my parents I would go back, and I did. So so I live in Mississippi. I work for Resurgence. I'm a regional manager, so I help just help our team. But then also we put people in treatment, where our primary goal is to be a resource in all of our communities. So whether you have someone with no insurance or insurance, money, no money, and everything in between, we make it it's our passion to help people get to treatment regardless of their level of resource. I also have a private practice, super small on the side. I do drug and alcohol assessments and work with people who are either in recovery or trying to work towards recovery. So that's a little bit about what I do now.
Okay, I think that, Eric, are you there?
Well, I'm back as long as my internet allows me to be back. Sorry about that. Yes, thank you.
I covered a little bit about the what's coming up speaker-wise and next week. But if you wanted anything to say about spiritual care membership, and or you had mentioned sometimes we like to open with a prayer before we let Dr. Arney take off.
That would be great. This is the Spiritual Care Network, so let's do that. I'll start us with a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, just thank you for bringing these people together today as attendees and as co-host, and Dr. Arney for speaking today and sharing her expertise in this subject of codependency, which we know is a big issue in the world. And thank you for just blessing us with the jobs that we can go help people and change lives and influence people every day, and just guide us, give us wisdom and the resources to do our very best. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Well, great. Well, before I turn it over to you, Dr. Arney, one more last word. If you're new to the Spiritual Care Network webinars, we are a nonprofit organization, and what the mission is to bridge the gap between mental health and faith. And the way we do that is to offer professional education once a month and CEU credits for professionals. We also offer these networking meetings, not just in Houston. We do have one next week in Austin, the second Tuesday of the month in Dallas. More information at our website, spiritualcarenet.org, or on social media. We have a Facebook page and groups for each city. We are growing. We're growing outside of Texas now. We're looking at opening up groups in Memphis and Kansas City and Oklahoma City. If you'd like to be involved, just let us know. And if you'd like to be a member, you could find that information on our website, which is very reasonably priced for an annual membership or a corporate membership. So spiritualcarenet.org, and you will get your certificate of completion when this is over today for your CEU, if that's what you need. So let me turn it over to you, Dr. Arney.
Yay, thank you. Okay, we have so much to talk about, y'all. We've got to get started. So I am going to share my screen, and we're going to get going. And please also, while I am talking, let's see. Hang on one second. I can't get to my, hang on. I can't get to my bar that starts me over here, slideshow. There we go. Well, hang on. When I share my screen, I can't get to my bar that says, let's see. Okay.
If you have a technical question, ask Eric.
Okay. Yeah, the bar across the top, like the mute, stop video, participants, it's in the way of my.
You can move it, like click on it and just move it over.
Yeah.
Click on or go to view.
Or if you go down to the bottom, you can see the little icons to start the webinar or start the PowerPoint.
At the bottom?
Yeah, right there. Go over
Right
one
here?
more. One more. The other way.
Other way?
There.
Yay! Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
All right.
Okay, here we are. So like I said, codependency is one of my very favorite things to talk about. I can talk about codependency for days. So this small spot is going to be tough, but I've really pared it down. I'm going to talk fast. Please put your comments or questions or examples in our chat. I normally say interrupt me, but we don't have time today. So when we started this, Eric and I, kind of kicked some things around codependency, and I love the heart of this organization. I just want to say that. And so talking about codependency versus what Jesus wants us to do are like the two things that I love. So here we are. This is how we ended up here. Is it enabling or loving? Basically, is kind of the question today. So I specifically chose this picture of my dad and of my family. This is my nuclear family here in the bottom right hand corner. That's my mom, my dad, and my brother. I have this up here for a reason. I'm going to say it in just a second. But let me tell you, most of us know, or we think we know, what codependency is. Codependency is what you think you know, and so much more. And so I hope today that you have an overwhelming sense of what it is, how to see it, and then maybe how to think about it from a spiritual perspective. So that's my goal. My definition, you can Google codependency. So I'm not going to give you Google because you're smart enough to know how to do that. My definition of codependency, I call it the me, you, me syndrome. Okay, the you, me, you syndrome. Codependency to me is a deep pattern of behavior that causes you to almost steal or rob other people of moments of consequence. Okay, so it's when our own stuff keeps us from allowing other people to suffer natural consequences. Okay, that's my definition. The B on here, addiction is a systematic issue. This is why I have my family on here, and my dad may even be listening. I hope he is. Codependency is in every single one of us. Okay, codependency is almost like a sliding scale of how much you have and how much you don't have. Families with a lot of trauma, and I'm going to get to that in a second. Families with a lot of addiction issues, families who were raised by addicts or alcoholics can be codependent. So a family can be codependent even absent of the substance because the behavior was handed down from the original addict or alcoholic family, which is really interesting that codependency can be present even without the substances, but it can because the behaviors are passed down. And most of us know this too, but there's a strong connection between trauma and addiction and families. And I'm going to tell a story about that in a minute. I'm sure you already knew that, but if this is the first time you're hearing it and you didn't know that, trauma, your own trauma, childhood trauma, which I talk about a lot in a lot of different forums, childhood trauma does manifest itself in your adult life and in your relationships. If you don't think that that is true, let's have a conversation afterwards, because it's absolutely true. Which is why when you start trying to undo codependency, it's extremely important to look at your own trauma. Most people want to try to fix the relationship, fix the other person, fix the situation at hand, when really, if it's a truly codependent situation or relationship, the healing is going to come within the person, not within the relationship. That's my belief on it. And then today, this is sort of our focus is, when is doing too much? When do you do too much for the other person? And I think that this is a $1 million question, y'all. This is $1 million question. I wish I could answer it so that I could get that $1 million. All right, here we go. All right, what I'm about to share with you is something that I have created over the years. It's something I've nurtured and developed. Please don't steal it from me. I'm in the process right now of publishing these ideas. So please, if you ever use this, put my name on it. That's all I ask. So highly dysfunctional and addicted families do not do these 4 things well. Sometimes not at all. They don't do them at all. So the first one is feelings. Now, what I mean by feelings is exactly what you might think I mean. And then it's also a little different. So highly dysfunctional and addicted families have a tough time identifying, naming, sometimes like actually being able to name it in the moment, acknowledging, and even processing feelings. Because feelings are flighty and because feelings can be threatening to another person, because feelings are, what's the word I'm thinking of? Irrational sometimes, like it doesn't necessarily make sense. In these families, feelings are scary. Feelings are things that it's just easier to sweep under a rug. It's easier to tell the child you don't really feel that way, or that feeling is not allowed. There's a lot of families that put rules around feelings. I have a whole talk called Rules and Roles. Rules as in family rules, roles as in the role that you play in the family. I love my Rules and Roles talk because it teaches us a lot about what's allowed and what's not allowed. And in that we talk about feelings. Responsibility. That's number 2. Dysfunctional and addicted families do a lot of shifting responsibility to other people. They don't take on their own, the things that belong to them, the responsibilities that belong to them. There's a lot of shifting and moving to avoid responsibility. So these families don't do responsibility well. And sometimes even at all. And then it's extremely confusing to kids whose job is what and what falls on who. So responsibility is a big piece. Truth. Dysfunctional and addicted families do not typically do truth. I have so many examples. So many examples. The truth kind of goes along with responsibility in that, yes, it means we sometimes don't tell the truth. It can also mean that we don't trust that what the other person is saying is actually true. So that's like I'm fine. And you know that the other person's not fine. So you don't trust that their words are meant to be what they are. And so truth is a difficult thing. And then also in codependent relationships, you're actually taught not to tell the truth, especially if the truth, now here we go back up to feelings, hurts somebody's feelings, or if the truth puts responsibility on someone else, or if the truth just isn't really desired in that particular situation, then then we tell them not to tell it. And then here's where like a spiritual piece comes in. When you tell kids not to tell the truth, you're giving them an out for at a later date. So you're saying in this particular situation, it's not okay to tell the truth. We're going to justify it by saying the truth is going to hurt someone's feelings. Then here they're walking down the road years later with hanging on to this belief that if the truth hurts someone's feelings, then I don't have to tell the truth and it's justified. And so then it just creates this perpetual problem of lying. I'm going to get to that in just a second, but that's a big piece in truth. So truth is kind of like feelings. It means a lot of different things. And then likely vulnerability. There's not vulnerability in highly dysfunctional and addicted families. So because vulnerability means feelings, vulnerability means you might be putting responsibility onto someone else, or you might even be putting responsibility onto yourself, and that's not desired. And vulnerability means that you have to let your guard down and you have to be real, that you have to give an opportunity that someone may hurt you in that moment of vulnerability. And kids that grow up in highly dysfunctional and addicted families, they learn to protect themselves. They learn how to avoid vulnerability when there's no truth, very little or no responsibility, and then feelings that aren't allowed. It's hard to give a talk when I can't see people, because normally I'm looking for head nods and that kind of thing. So I'm assuming you're following me. All right, really fast on this, and then we're going to jump forward. One thing leads to another. Okay, so when feelings are not allowed, vulnerability is not allowed, truth is not allowed, responsibility is not given, this leads to all of these things over here, which I mentioned before: lies, codependency, enabling, cover-ups, control issues, rationalizations of situations, justification, projection, emotional dysregulation. I could also add on here just relationships and intimacy. So when you have this list over here of the things that are not allowed, like feelings, let's just use feelings as an example. If somebody's feelings are hurt and they don't feel like they can say it out loud, then they're likely going to lie about it, and they're going to say that they are okay. Okay, so then let's fast forward a couple of days, and let's say the truth comes out that the person's feelings really were hurt. And you say, well, you lied. Why did you lie? Okay, this is really interesting, y'all. I've learned this with my kids. If my kids lie to me about something, especially if it's about feelings, what I do is I take a look within myself and I say, did I allow for those feelings? Did I do something that caused him or her to lie to me? Because if you don't feel safe to say the truth, you're going to lie. So then can I really punish for lying if I didn't provide the space for the truth? I hope that makes sense. Also, let me jump to another one here. Emotional dysregulation. So what I mean by that is when kids are small, they learn how to regulate their emotions, hopefully. So what that is it's a process. Let's just use frustrated. Okay, a child is frustrated. A process that's extremely important. Actually, I'm not going to use frustrated. I'm going to use disappointed. Disappointed is an interesting parenting talking point. Okay, if a child is disappointed and they don't know how to process disappointment, which is emotional regulation, okay, where they don't know how to do it, they don't know the mechanisms within themselves to process disappointment, they could, instead of taking ownership, shift the truth to someone else in order to avoid having to have that consequence. Okay, so these two things go together. They go together. We have to allow feelings. We have to allow vulnerability. We have to allow truth. We have to allow responsibility when we're talking about codependency. If we don't allow these things to happen, then the other person learns how to cover up to make you feel better. Ooh, let me say that again. If we don't allow these things, the other person is going to figure out how to make us happy, and they're likely not going to tell the truth. They're not going to be authentic. They're not going to be vulnerable, because they're basically gauging what they do off of you. So just from a parenting standpoint, if you have any of these issues happening with your kids, my challenge to you is take a look within first and make sure that you're presenting an environment, that you're opening an environment where these things are allowed. It's really important in their development. Okay, when loving becomes enabling, I am keeping an eye on time here. When loving becomes enabling, you're doing what they can do for themselves. If you're doing something for your kids that they, or someone else, that they can do for themselves on a very regular basis, you might be enabling that person. If you are preventing natural consequences from taking place, you might be enabling. I'll give you a small story on this one. My son does martial arts, and he left his gi, his uniform that he practices in, at home. And it was his responsibility. I reminded him several times to grab it on our way out the door. So he wanted me to go out of my way to get the gi so that he would not have to do push-ups at karate. Well, that was a teachable moment for him. So he had to walk in, he had to tell his sensei, I forgot my gi. And then he had to do push-ups, and he had to do whatever it took in that practice to get through what he needed to get through. Now, if I would have bailed him out of that moment, instead of teaching him responsibility for his gi, instead of letting his coach have a teachable moment, I would have been teaching him that all you have to do is be uncomfortable and want to avoid consequences for me to bail you out. Or you know, that's, I will bail you out so that you're not uncomfortable, and so that your coach isn't upset with you, and so that you don't have to do push-ups. I would have taught him that I'm going to fix that when he's not comfortable. So then the next one, bailing them out of a constant situation. Now, do we do for our kids? Absolutely. Do we go out of our way all the time? Yes, we do. This is when I go back to my definition. This is a pervasive pattern. This is an over and over and over again, no matter what. Okay. This is, let me give you a little insight. If you are trying to hold your child accountable, or someone else, I keep saying child because I usually talk about this in terms of parenting, but if they're uncomfortable hurts you, my challenge for you is to get a therapist and work through your own trauma. If they're uncomfortable makes you so uneasy that you can't allow them to suffer consequences, please look at your own trauma, because it's your own trauma that's keeping you from that child or whomever to experience the natural consequences that are needed to do something different in the future. to remember that ghee, to put the ghee by the door, to go ahead and put the ghee in the car. Okay, it's going to make him do something different next time, instead of saying, well, I don't really have to remember my ghee. I mean, if I forget it, Mama will go get it for me. That's what I don't want to create. But when I bail him out, that's the message that I'm sending. Okay, I already talked about my next point. When you feel a deep despair, and these are just my words, okay? But when you feel a deep despair over the other person's uncomfortable, please recognize that this is enabling. If you have lied for this person to save them from consequences, you might be enabling. You physically, mentally, or emotionally cannot let them fail. That is enabling. Okay, so my charge today, which I love, this is so fun. I really dug deep, y'all, for this. I did, because I've never paired, I've paired these two things together, but not on a deep level like this. And so this is what I found. And man, it has like enriched my life. Like this has really changed my life. I hope it changes yours. 2 Thessalonians 3:10-15. Now, let me just tell you, this is hard. What you're about to hear is hard, but it's necessary. For even when we are with you, we would give you this command. If anyone is not willing to work, let them not eat. For we hear that some among you walk in idleness, not busy at work, but busy bodies. I pray that I have enough time to come back to this. Now, such persons we command and encourage in the Lord Jesus Christ to do their work quietly, to earn their own living. As for you, brothers, do not grow weary in doing good. I think that's really important. If anyone does not want to obey what we say in this letter, take note of this person. I'm going to come back to that too, and have nothing to do with them, that he may be ashamed. Wowzas, right? Knock you over. What? Yes. All right, listen. If anyone is not willing to work, that's the first point that I made bold. You know, I see this in a lot of ways. Like this means what it's saying, but this also means not willing to do for themselves. It says, let him not eat. That is a tough reality. Like that is hard. And I feel like as Christians, that's why this topic, when Eric and I stumbled on it, we were like, yes, is we get the lines blurred between what God wants us to do and what's going to help this other person today in reality here on earth. It's these two things seem so different, yet this passage is so clear to me. And so then it goes on to say, and I love this part, for we hear that someone is walking among you in idleness, not busy at work, but busy bodies. This really taught me a lot about me, because I've been trying in the past probably 5-ish years to really be intentional, like be intentional with the commitments I make, be intentional with my kids' activities, be intentional with my time at home, be intentional with my husband, be intentional with all of the people around me, because I don't want to be a busy body. I want to be busy with the things that matter. So it's really interesting to me that this passage says not just a busy body, not just this fake busy that sometimes we can get really caught up in, this fake busy on Facebook and other things. No offense, Facebook, I love you, but I'm just saying, it just really challenged me to think outside the box and to break down that specific passage and say, what does that mean? And I spent a lot of time on this, and that's what I came to, was to not just appear busy. Okay, now pause right there. A lot of times, the enabler is one person, the manipulator or the addict is the other person, okay? I've had a lot of moms. I work with moms. I don't know why. I feel like God just sends me the codependent mamas. And I've sort of built my life in the past 2 years around codependent mamas, where they will say, but he's trying. He's trying to get a job. He's been trying for 6 months to get a job. And statements like that make me wonder, is this a busy body and not busy at work? Right? So is this person trying to manipulate mama into thinking he or she is doing all the right things by appearing busy? I love talking about manipulation, but I absolutely do not have time here to do that. But so be careful, because I almost feel like the text is saying that it recognizes busy bodies, and that might change somebody's life today. It changed mine. And so then, now such persons command encouragement in the Lord Jesus Christ to do their work quietly to earn their own living. Gosh, I don't know if I do anything quietly, but that made me stop and think. Okay, and then it continues on by saying, if there's someone that doesn't want to obey them, have nothing to do with them. And I know that's probably stepping on somebody's toes, but I'm just saying that's what it says. That's what the passage says. So now we have to sift through that and say, what can that look like? Okay, so this is sort of some talking, some prayer points for you. And I hope that this helps you recognize it in your own life, because I'm all about what I can do for you to make you a better clinician, a better nurse, a better friend, a better daughter, a better spouse, a better mother, father, is before you use this on someone else, I want to challenge you to go to that passage, look up other related passages, and dig deep within yourself. I think that's like the best rule of thumb when you're processing something new. Okay, so what does Jesus say? He's asking, are they able? Is this person able? And I get that from the very beginning of what he says. So let me go back. Not willing to work. Do you see that? If anyone is not willing to work, that tells me that he's saying if they are able. That is huge. That's huge. Like that changed me. Whoops, I might be going the wrong way. There we go. Okay, then number 2, do they have the resources to help? And that would be you. That would be the person. Like, is somebody asking you for something that you don't have? Now, we're going to think about money when we ask this question. At least I did. The first thing I thought about is, do I have money? But I want you to even look at this a level deeper than money. Do you have the emotional stamina? Do you have a strong relationship with Christ that is then, now here we are going to some of these other things. Do you have the personal, interpersonal resources to help? That's a big question. Okay, because when we're undoing codependency, what do you see? I'll tell you what I see. What I see for a lot of people is mamas and daddies and grandparents are giving things that they don't have, right? We're giving emotional things that we don't have. We're giving money that we don't have. We're giving all kinds of things that we don't have. So I would ask you, do you have the resources? And I mean more than money when I'm asking that question. Is the person obeying God? Now, this is kind of a catch-22, and I know I'm running out of time, aren't I? We know that in addiction, people are disconnected from God, right? That's one of the first things. It's kind of like running from a parent when you know you're doing wrong. Okay, but I think you have to look at, does this person have a relationship with Christ? Have they obeyed God in the past? And can you access some of that in the right now to help guide them? Another one, is this a perpetual situation? There's another place in this passage, I'm not going to go back because I'm running out of time, but help your kids, yes. Help your adult kids, absolutely. My parents have helped me over and over and over again throughout my life. But have they enabled me? No, they haven't. So you have to look at, and we go back to the definition, is this a pervasive pattern? And then is it hurting you, right? Because as we kind of look at our list, and that's what you have to ask yourself. Are they taking any ownership? That's really important in getting help. With this one, gosh, these last two, I have to tell you, are really, really important. Are you giving with a full heart or an empty heart? And I felt like God just sort of laid that on me when I was making this, because if you're giving from a full heart, you're probably not enabling. And I know this from years and years of experience, 18 going on 19 years of clinical work with people. When people are giving from an empty heart, it tells me something about how much they've given and how empty they maybe are spiritually. So you use that as just a good guide. And then the last one, have you heard from God? Have you prayed? Are you seeking godly counsel? Are you talking to people that have been through this? Are you reaching out to professionals? If there's an urge that I could put on you today, get a therapist. I think the whole world needs a therapist, because so many becauses. I probably don't even have to tell y'all this, but if we could fix ourselves, therapists wouldn't exist. If we could fix ourselves, none of these problems would be there, because we would just fix it, right? But there's something about a neutral third party that is powerful. It's powerful. Okay, I'm going to switch off this screen, and I'm going to let Brittney talk to me about what's in the chat, and let's try to be respectful of everybody's time.
Hey, sorry about that. Thank you, Michele. That was awesome. Like, I loved that. That was amazing. So the first question we have in the chat is, why do codependent couples abuse their kids?
Ooh. Let me think about where to go with that. I do not have time to answer that question. Okay, but what I will say is, when you're in a codependent relationship, your primary focus is that other person's happiness, well-being, whatever it is, that is your primary focus. And so I think that children that experience abuse and neglect in codependent situations is because mom and dad are so focused on what's happening within each other, and it's so incredibly toxic that the children, and if I go back to my 4 things, right, the children's needs and wants get pushed to the side because they're so hyper focused on the other person that everything else kind of goes by the wayside because they don't allow feelings, responsibility, vulnerability, right? They don't allow for those things. And so they just want children to be seen and not heard. And here's the thing, when you're in a deep codependent relationship, especially if it's with a spouse, you are sick. You are sick. You are emotionally sick and likely spiritually depleted. So there are people that may not even realize that neglect is abuse, that being seen, be seen, not heard, is terribly damaging. Okay, what else you got?
So the next question is from Tommy, and it is, what would be an example of preventing consequences with a spouse or significant other?
Ooh, good question. So I'll give you an example. I love real-time examples. Real-time example, I'm working with someone right now who has a I believe she's addicted too, but for all intents and purposes, he's the one getting help, seeking help. And she has lied for him in terms of calling in sick to work. She has lied to family and friends about his whereabouts at family functions. Lied to children about what's wrong with him and what's going on. So we also enable bad behavior from our spouses when you're in a highly codependent situation. Shifting responsibility to the enabler instead of the person taking responsibility for themselves. Now let me give you a flip side to this. I'll tell you a story on my husband. He will not call in his own medicine. Okay? Not gonna do it. He's gonna bring me his medicine bottle and say, I'm out of medicine. Can you call it in for me? Now, is that enabling? No. There are things that we do out of love. There are things that we do because we're showing preference, right? Jesus wants us to show preference to the people that we love. That's a you first, not me. That's a you look amazing today. That's a here's a meal on your front porch because I know that somebody's sick. Okay. That's a you before me because we love people, right? So my husband saying, can you call in my medicine is a small thing that I can do. Now, if he says, I don't tell anybody where I am today because I'm terribly hungover and I'm not going anywhere. That's codependent. Me having to lie to protect either his image or his job or his relationships, his paycheck, whatever. If I am lying to protect something from happening to him, and it's, remember, go back to the definition, it's a pervasive pattern that spirals downhill. It's not calling in somebody's medicine, okay? It's a pervasive downward spiral. If you are lying to protect someone during their downward spiral, you are enabling.
And then we have one more in the question box from Benjamin, and he says, if you have time, can you talk about the impact on the bystanders and the family who do not benefit from the codependent addict relationship?
Okay, let me say this. You are not an innocent bystander if you are witnessing codependency. You are passing it down. All right, listen to me. Listen, listen, listen. See, this is where we could literally talk another hour, seriously. Okay. Okay. All right, hang on. When your children see you treat other people in a codependent kind of way, that's how they will treat people. You are giving them permission to abandon self for the sacrifice of another person, or for the sacrifice of you on behalf of another person. Okay, we can't teach kids that. We teach them how to show preference. We teach them how to love other people. But when they watch us self-sacrifice for another person's benefit over and over and over again, they learn that that is the behavior that is preferred. And then what they will do is they will start treating you differently based on what they think you want from them. And we don't ever want our kids to do that. We don't ever want the people in our lives to say, I want Michelle's approval today, and so I'm going to present the way that she will be happy with. Because then you know what you're doing? You're teaching them how to manipulate to get what they want. Whole nother talk. That is a whole nother talk. It is vital though. Okay, so just to close, I've got 2 minutes. It's very important to teach kids the difference between preference and self-sacrifice. I believe Jesus wants us to show preference. I believe he wants us to love other people by putting other people first. You take the last piece of pie. You can wear my swimsuit so that you can jump in the pool and I will do something else. Okay, preference, that's important. Self-sacrifice is teaching kids how to be manipulative. It's teaching kids to lie. It's teaching kids to gauge the situation based on whatever they're looking for, and then to change themselves to get what they want. That is dangerous territory. I don't believe that that's what Jesus wants us to do. Yes, be kind. Yes, love people. Yes, show preference. But Jesus also wants us to love ourselves and to value ourselves because we are important to him. Every single one of us are important to him. He made every single one of us different and unique for a reason, because he wants you to shine in that. He doesn't want you to be a chameleon. He doesn't want you to blend in with the crowd. He wants you to be you, right? And so we have to teach kids and the people in our lives that it's okay to be who they are in Jesus. And it's okay to ask for what you want or need. And we love people by showing preference.
Awesome. Awesome information today. And you know a good speaker when you just keep wanting more for hours.
Yes. I agree.
Kim, I think I kind of heard her offer to come back and do one in the future. Did you?
Yeah, I think I did. I think we're going to come back and do the one you said.
I would love to come back. Y'all just
do a part 2.
Yes. Oh man, yes. I do part 2s all the time, and then 3 and 4.
Awesome.
No, I would.
Brittney will keep. She'll hold us accountable, and we'll reach out.
Okay.
I want to hear one about manipulation.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. Yep.
Awesome.
I like that idea.
We should go there next.
Wonderful job today. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Dr. Arney and Brittney, for bringing her on board today and for co-hosting. And you do a great job like normal. Thank you to everybody that joined today. And please invite your colleagues to join us in the future months. Man, every month I'm just so blessed that we have some experts in the industry to share this knowledge and to sharpen each other and our skills and our knowledge. And I'm just so blessed for the Spiritual Care Network. So thanks again for everybody to join. I posted the link on the chat box so you can do your evaluation and print off your certificate. And also you'll get an email tomorrow with the same link. So that's all we have today. Thanks for joining us. And that concludes our webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.